Good morning, children. I want to welcome you to our Children's Praise time right now. This is our video, a Bible lesson for Children's Praise. During our Sunday time, this is our worship together, and it's a real joy, and I really enjoy being able to do this, these videos week by week, and just talk about little lessons as we look through the Scriptures and find out the gospel, the wisdom of Jesus Christ through these words, and just hope that it continues to bless you, and with the teachers leading, that it makes some real good application into your life week by week. And so what we'll look at today, if you notice at all maybe in the church how we have been talking about eating food. That's been a theme actually we've been talking about with the adults on the past 2 Sundays, even this Sunday right now. We'll have 3 Sundays where we talk about how we are going to eat food the way Jesus ate food. And there's one part where we see that really clearly in Luke 14. So Jesus had a story where he was actually in the context, he was sitting at a table like this, and there was food everywhere and people, and they were talking, and in that context Jesus decided to share a story about eating food while he was actually eating food. He had the story of, and here's the thing to remember, it was called the story of the great banquet, the parable of the great banquet. So try to remember that. If your parents ask you, well, what did you learn today? You say, I learned about the great banquet. And we'll see it here in Luke 14. So let me read the story to you. And we'll learn how it is to eat like Jesus. It says this in Luke 14, verse 15. When one of those who reclined at the table with him heard these things, he said to him, Blessed is every one who will eat bread in the kingdom of God. But he said to him, A man once gave a great banquet and invited many, many people. And at the time for the banquet he sent his servant to say to those who had been invited, Come, everything is now ready. But they all alike began to make excuses. The first said to him, I have bought a field, and I must go see it. Please have me excused. And then another said, I have bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I have to go examine them. Please have me excused. And then the third person here says this. Another one said, I have married a wife, and therefore I cannot come. So the servant came and reported these things to the master. And the master of the house was very angry and said to his servant, Go out quickly into the streets and the lanes of the city, and bring in the poor and the crippled and the blind and the lame. And the servant said, Sir, what you have commanded has been done, and still there is room. So the master had a very large table, very big room, and there were still more empty seats. And so the master said, because he wanted a lot of people at his banquet, he said, Go out into the highways and the hedges, and compel people to come in, that my house may be filled. For I tell you, none of those men who were invited shall taste of my banquet. So the banquet is a really big dinner. It's a really big meal. It's a real big party. Maybe you've been to a wedding before, or maybe you've just had really big birthday parties, maybe for yourself or someone else in your family. And so what I see here is our prop. You see, this is from the playroom. You have a bunch of food like this. I like hot dogs, right? Apples. You have some bread, cheese, soggy cereal. Who starts their day off that way? That's the way to do it. This is, imagine the whole table just full of food like this. Imagine like when you eat for Thanksgiving, you have a real long table maybe with a lot of friends and family over, and the whole table is just full of food. Well, see, that is a really significant image for what Jesus is trying to describe here. What Jesus is saying is that there was a man who had a really large table, and he wanted to invite all sorts of people to it. But no one actually had the time or the priority. No one wanted to actually come to his party. So that's the problem, is if you remember in the story, there were 3 people. There was a man who said he was married and he couldn't go. There was a man who said he bought some oxen, some really big cattle, and he couldn't make it. And there's another man who said he bought a lot of land. He bought a big field, and he had to go look and inspect the field. Now, the reason Jesus gave this story is because it is a picture of your life and my life. Because the Bible tells us that at the end of everything, at the end of this creation, everything God's doing right now in this world, that our lives in Jesus are going to end at a very big table banquet, a very big wedding party. That's what we're told at the end of Scripture. Now, not everybody actually is invited to that wedding party, because the people that don't want to be there will not be there. Notice that the people were invited. They had invitations, and they were invited to come because everything was ready. And it's not as though the doors were locked from them. It's not as though they couldn't get into the wedding table. They didn't want to go. They actually cared more about their other things. They didn't really see that this invitation was a really big deal. And so when we say that Jesus Christ is our Lord, and that we love him with all of our hearts, and that he and a relationship with him is more valuable than anything we have in this life, that's what Jesus was trying to explain with that story. That if we had all sorts of options and all sorts of things we could do, but if Jesus invited us to come and have dinner with him, your love toward Jesus should be so much greater than anything else that you would drop everything you had to go and have dinner with Jesus. Because that's an image of actually enjoying him and his friendship more than anything else. Who you actually eat food with shows you a lot of what you value the most. And we should be that same way. We should eat with people, all sorts of different people, so that we would actually learn to love them and care for them and be involved in their life and bring the life of Christ to them. So that's one way we can use food like this to eat in the same way Jesus did, because the whole course of our human life is leading to a really, really big dinner banquet that Jesus called that great banquet in Luke 14. So if your parents ask, what did you learn today? That great banquet that Jesus talked about. The end of all of our lives will end in a big banquet. So remember that, and I will talk to you again next week.